And now I would like to invite Mr. Bohumír Dufek, the chairman of the Trade Union of Agriculture Workers, and he is also a member of the European Social and Economic Committee. So allow me to welcome you all. Topic of my paper is current agriculture policy and sustainable growth in foodstuff production. I would like to express my thanks to Dr. David for allowing us to present here for the second time during this conference, because trade unionists are not always invited to present their opinions, because quite often it is not interesting for some top leaders of European Union, and they in fact try to influence the opinions within individual member states. As Germany already explained, we should in fact move towards federalized Europe, which is rejected by especially Eastern Europe states. So allow me to focus on the current agriculture policy that could be split into the following groups. First of all, common agriculture policy. Second, already mentioned subsidies in agriculture, what is really interesting, and also use of fertilizers, which is widely discussed in individual states, and then environment and climate conditions and sustainable development, which is discussed a lot. Common agriculture policy and newly reviewed common agriculture policy was approved by the parliament, so it is finalized, we can say, but it is not true. Everything is ahead of us instead, and farmers in individual member states would have to, in fact, strive hard to comply with those regulations. I'm personally against limits, setting limits, capping, because I think it harms the Czech farmers, and also it makes the economic competition difficult at the level of agriculture and production. What made me really sad, and we have to consider it, that the Czech Republic had elected those members of parliaments that are against interests of population of the Czech Republic, and for instance, Mr. Peksa, Vrecionová, or Šojdrová. Those European Parliament members are talking about something, but also at the same time about nothing. Mr. Peksa, for instance, is able to throw away the entire Czech agriculture in the sake of foreign companies due to some misleading pirate party ideas. I have to say that a lot of smart people that are talking knowledgeable how the agriculture should look like should study history in the Czech Republic. After 1918, when the Czech Republic was established, the largest owners of fields and forests were noble families. For instance, Schwarzenberg's family owned 250,000 of fields and forests. Czech Republic also represented one of the important owners that established state farms to manage those lands. So I have to say that we have witnessed or in fact, we have not witnessed plundering of the Czech agricultural land, and talking about agro noble families. In fact, it was represented in the First Republic by the agro noble families. The practical booklet printed in 1925 lists 25 largest and richest owners of fields and forests together. So, in fact, what the European Parliament is doing now. They try to grab as large as subsidies as possible and having as large as influence on the agriculture area as possible. As we could see, since 2004, the share of Czech agriculture and share of Czech foodstuff is constantly declining. I can declare, for instance, the pork production. As an example, we are at a level of lower than 45% currently. So it was already discussed that if we agree with the capping limit, there will be more money left for small farmers, just because of the interests of the food chains on agriculture and farmers is great. Yes, it's about money that those international chains are making and transferring the profits outside of the Czech Republic. In fact, the European budget that amounted to 70% dropped to current 38%, and in the situation when 13 new member states access from the East European area. I would say the agriculture in the Europe is distorted by hidden national subsidies. Just for your information, currently, and maybe for our foreign guests, I have to state that euro is currently at the level of 25 crowns. And talking about the sale of beef and poultry, chicken meat, it is sold for €1 per kilogram. Speaking about 1 liter of milk, current purchasing price is 9 crowns, which is less than 50% of the value of €1. So Coca-Cola is more expensive than milk, which is brought to the market. When I discussed about hidden subsidies, I have to say that I really don't like that Aldo multinational chain had already declared they are going to buy products only in Germany, stating that the carbon footprint should be diminished. I'm really curious to see whether those chains generating huge profits will really act like that within the territory of the Czech Republic. Dear colleagues, on the other hand, when talking about quality, accessibility, and primarily safety of foods, The Economist British newspaper in the index of global food safety had listed Czech Republic to be fifth among the 5 best, speaking about food safety. Germany was rated 13, and we should follow Germany, as suggested many times. Czech farmers are the best of the breed, speaking about use of pesticides, speaking about alternative products, only 2 kg of active substance per hectares are brought. In France, they use by 50% more active substances, and in Belgium, they use 4 times more active substances. 16% of arable land is managed according to strict rules of environmentally friendly farming. And in the entire EU, it is only about 8%. What also pleases me and what is very important for the health of population is #1 position within EU, where we are the first in the sense of healthy animals, because we are using lowest quantity of veterinary drugs. And then the world average of the land which is no longer arable, and in the Czech Republic about degraded soil, it's only about 6% in the Czech Republic. So everybody, by saying everybody, is in fact blaming us, and by saying everybody, I mean mostly the representative of the NGOs who never worked as farmers. Then Czech Republic, Czech farmers, even with lower subsidies, they are doing quite well. But true is that The new area is ahead of us, and we can say that the subsidies for the Czech farmers would drop to the level of 2004. And I would really be pleased if you think also about increased prices of all cost that farmers have to pay. Speaking about prosperity of Czech farming, and it is really important for us, we heard how number of workers in agriculture declined. Yes, that's true, because the productivity is increasing a lot, and I would say that we have to focus on the modernization. There are already stalls in the Czech Republic allowing 3 employees to manage 450 pieces of cattle. I just wondered how they will do it in the small farms. Then introduction of robots to decrease number of workers, and it is really difficult for me, because me as trade unionist, I will always promote employment of humans by digitizing entire agriculture. This is the direct ratio between decreased number of employees and prosperity of farmers. What is also very important for us is intergeneration exchange and position of young farmers. So that's why we just support quite massive support for first hectares, because we think that it has one economic impact, allowing in fact, a better position to young people. So I have to ask myself, who is going to work actually? Because sufficiently we face lack of employees in agriculture, and Czech Republic is preparing 4 times higher subsidies for first hectares in respect of renewal of generation compared to Germany. It should make the position of Czech young farmers better. But on the other hand, I'm quite horrified by huge flexibility of Czech businessmen. Something would be distributed only from the administration point of view, and the Czech agriculture will suffer, because as you split companies, you are entitled to subsidies, and we are not in favor of this system, because we think it should work differently. We think that Czech farmers should request creation of food policy within Europe that would promote consumption of food where produced locally. We should not transport tons of food that should be consumed where produced. The carbon footprint of trucks is not negligible, and we cannot decrease CO2 in animal husbandry by decreasing number of cattle, and on the other hand support transportation by trucks, favoring supermarket chains. I have presented an article about chains, and in fact, I would like to mention certain items, and I would like to ask Mr. David to incorporate this article in my paper, because in the Czech Republic it is presented quite often that chains in the Czech Republic highlights that they generate really low margins in the Czech Republic. I cannot accept this opinion, because price proposal of our suppliers in the Czech Republic did not change this year, while price of food is constantly growing. The basis was described in the article. Just to remind some data, Globus, Czech Republic, last year generated a turnover of 24 billion last year, but in P&L they report only 24 million of profit. So you can just see clearly where the money went. Speaking about Penny Market, which is limited liability company, they paid out dividends amounting to 2 billion. Kaufland again, publicly traded company, all EBITDA was transferred outside of the Czech Republic. They paid out profit last year amounting to 2.1 billion. And speaking about a macro cash and carry last limited liability company, they paid out last year a profit. But to be objective, profit from the last years amounting to 416 million. So those organizations are not poor while really destroying farmers. And we cannot do anything about it because part of the new agriculture policy, there should be the farm-to-fork strategy. So we should not transport food across entire Europe, generating heavy carbon footprint. And on the other hand, some activists, experts may explain us how to decrease number of cattle. I just wanted to highlight, if we wish to have sustainable agriculture, we need to breed cattle. Everybody knows that per hectare per year, 750 kilograms of manure should be added to the soil in order to guarantee good yields. So in fact, we are just using fertilizers instead, promoting primarily by the old EU 15 member states. I'm terribly sorry, we don't have time to speak about 4.0 agriculture, but what would be really beneficial is creation of new business opportunity and building of robust agriculture that would sustain all tricks and predators represented by chains. The other step towards a fair food chain is eliminating liquidation of farmers by expansive policy promoting importers. We already heard it that Europe is constantly talking about the way how everything will be conducted greatly. But I wanted to highlight that Europe contributes to CO2 production in the entire product by 9%, China 22%, Russia 24%. And I think that something should be done truly differently, especially talking about import, because when Europe sets conditions for farmers within Europe, all contracts within this policy should be registered, and Europe should not trade with those countries that don't comply with those conditions. And then I just wanted to highlight one important fact. I really don't like at all when I hear from Brussels that we should support small farms and farmers. I think that within market economy, everybody should obtain same support, no matter whether they are big or small, and 10% for local ones. That's what we claim. Czech small local farmers are disadvantaged because continuity was interrupted. And I think we can stimulate it by the support paid out for the first hectares. So conditions should be identical. Terms and conditions for Czech farmers. It was already explained. It's about use of fertilizers, pesticides, and unfair imports. It is not possible to admit that somebody breaks law by, for instance, health and safety, and then those products would be imported to Europe because we consider it as an unfair trade practice. Sustainable agriculture, and I have to say, yes, it is possible to achieve it by shortening the food chain. Supply chain. I think it's really important because I'm really convinced that food should be consumed locally where produced. And I believe that something can be organized by supporting local production. And I'm grateful that the Czech Republic is promoting it, which is, for instance, the trademark of Czech food, and by supporting the consumption of local products among Czech population. We have to really insist on benchmarking quality of food, not only within Czech Republic, but everywhere in Europe. We have to introduce common methodology to protect consumers. So individual national bodies would be empowered to test quality and composition of food. Well, by saying that, I mean Poland. They are declaring everything, but they don't deliver anything with this respect. We can see that, for instance, chicken meat with salmonella is imported, and Poland had received an exception because they are cooling down chicken meat by water still. And I have to say, it's quite unbelievable that some consumers are constantly fooled. The last thing was that when you hear new taste on the food, it's in fact deceiving promotion. Concentration would relate to concentration of production, linking to high productivity and thorough environmental protection, of course, with the support of sales logistics through the sales cooperatives. Those who don't want to be part of it will face troubles, in my view. Now, I would like to talk about the environmental agriculture. We all know that water is missed in the landscape. We should all implement those measures that would retain our water in the landscape. For instance, Jakub Krčín managed to build a lot of ponds, and I cannot imagine South Bohemia without ponds and lakes. So Czech farmers should use those subsidies. And I'm convinced that it will benefit not only the climate, decreasing CO2, but also it will benefit the agriculture as such. And I really like to compare certain situations. So it was quite funny when the environmental activist wanted to ban generation of artificial snow that is able to retain water in the landscape for a longer time, claiming that it's not environmentally friendly. For the future, I think retaining water and supplying water to the landscape will be really important in the future, and I really appreciated the paper talking about it. Then the forestry policy was also very important because a lot of farmers also manage forests. They are owners of forests. It's quite complicated and complex, I have to say, that currently it is difficult to contribute to rescuing, saving forest for the next generation. And we all know what damages were caused by the bark beetle. And I would be really pleased if the forest would become a irreplaceable part of the environment for protection of soil, air, and climate in the Czech Republic. I have to say that we can clearly state that forests improve environment and decrease CO2 levels in the air. Total fulfillment of food system cannot be evaluated without evaluating the entire food chains, especially transporting foods. They are not farmers who are criticized quite often. They are, in fact, criticized. They contribute to climate changes. Well, that's true, but we think it is not like that. I think transportation of food is not beneficial, and we definitely want that the carbon footprint should be incorporated in the price of food. So we don't think that food should be more expensive because it's too cheap now, as Germany claims. No, I don't think it's true and the right approach. In fact, prices of food is almost identical across the entire Europe. In Germany, they have 45,000 euros, while in the Czech Republic we will have a minimal wage amounting to 16,200 Czech crowns. So, conclusion, changed funding of the common agriculture policy must be really done in a sensitive way without red burden, administrative burden, and for decades we hear that Europe will try to decrease the bureaucratic burden for farmers. It must be done without assorted environmental nonsense submitted by different so-called experts active in agriculture activists. Currently approved document, it was widely discussed within EU. I think it's not good. It could have been much better, and it could have promoted farmers instead of environmental activists. I'm horrified by the notion ambitious EU. We are already sufficiently ambitious, and I would like to remind you we were that ambitious in Europe that all car producers tried to cheat because they were not able to deliver the promise. And I don't want to put Czech farmers to the same situation. I hope that Czech Republic will be reasonable, that the new minister will understand it, even though the government declared already that they will call for capping limits. But I think it will not be bad. It will not be shame if this system promoted by a certain number of small farmers would be replaced by more beneficial agriculture policy in the Czech Republic, because farmers, in fact, have to salt primarily. It's not such a big problem to produce, but to sell it. Question for Mr. Dufek, how farmers are organized in different countries in Europe, speaking about trade unions. Well, the answer is quite easy. In all EU countries, member states, including Turkey, the trade unions were established that are associated in the trade union, European Association of Farmers and Food Workers. We are meeting on a regular basis, and we manage to achieve certain successes, especially in collective agreements, because not in all countries trade unions are that successful. I would say in the Czech Republic, where we have 31 collective agreements of higher degree, we have done it in a very responsible way, because I think you always have to choose a good balance between employment rate and the life.
The European Parliament supports young farmers up to 40 years of age, but has rejected our proposal to support young agricultural employees. How do you perceive this? How do you see this? We must realize that agriculture is a business like any other business, though it is actually under seasonal influence, but the EU has no interest in developing Czech agriculture. We could see that in 2004 in signing the admission treaty, when the Commission officially promised that during the next period subsidies will be balanced, and they have not been balanced so far. So for the employees, this is no advantage. I rather think that if employment in agriculture is not supported, certain market will be released, freed, and it's true. And the more capable of action is the company, the better position in enjoys on the market towards the supermarket, for example, which some people in the EU do not like. I think it has been a great mistake, and they replaced this one thing. The eco scheme, the trade union organizations will have the possibility to control labor safety and social dimensions in the company. Otherwise, Europe is built on family farms, which has 13, maximum 16 hectares on average. So the Czech Republic has 130. But here you see that the European Parliament and the Commission have had no interest on strengthening the Czech agriculture.